What's up, everybody? Rothstein here, Betting Public Sports Show. Today is Friday, February 6, 2026. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave comments. I'm your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, a.k.a. Hacksaw Jim Thuggin. All right? And I'm just going to keep it real. I ain't going to even hold you. Well, let me just tell you, I'll have some sports betting action for you tomorrow, Saturday, and on Sunday. Okay, Saturday will be whatever, NBA, college, and or the NHL. Sunday will be all Super Bowl, and it won't be which Gatorade color is. I'm telling you, I think that's the goofiest bet ever. I would never even suggest it, much less place it. All right, but I'm talking to my city of Cincinnati. I don't mean to alienate anybody. Please continue to listen. But I need the city of Cincinnati to calm the hell down. The NFL honors just came out earlier or on late Thursday, and the Hall of Fame class was introduced. Let's see, the Hall of Fame class was Roger Craig, former San Francisco running back, Drew Brees, former New Orleans quarterback, Larry Fitzgerald, Arizona wide receiver. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. It's not intentional, I promise. Then there's Luke Kuechly, linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. But there were two omissions. Both played for the Cincinnati Bengals. One, quarterback Ken Anderson. Two, offensive tackle Willie Anderson. Now I'm going to talk about them two and Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly is a local kid. He's from Cincinnati. He went to St. Xavier High School. Then he went to college to Boston College, if I'm not mistaken. But let's start with Kuechly. Played 8 years in the NFL. Okay, like I said, he's a local kid from Cincinnati. He's from St. Xavier High School. They play in what we locally like to think is the best high school conference in the country, the Greater Catholic League South. It's 4 Catholic schools with a rich tradition in sports, especially through Ohio. One of them, Moeller High School, Archbishop Moeller. That's where all the rich kids go to school. A lot of former Bengals and former Reds kids went there. Ken Griffey Jr. Who else went there? Barry Larkin. His brother Byron, who was a college basketball player. Anthony Munoz's kid went there. Anthony Munoz Jr., who started as a freshman at Tennessee as an offensive tackle. Dave Lapham was a former Bengal guard on the first team that went to the Super Bowl in like 1981, 82. His son went there. We were in the same grade. Played summer ball against him. I'm trying to think anybody else that might have went there, but that's what Moeller is. Okay? Then there's Elder High School. It's the only one of those schools that is due west in Cincinnati. It's the westernmost school in that league. You're not gonna get a lot of really athletic, fast kids there, but they're gonna be efficient and they're gonna get busy. And they're known for their beautiful playing field, the pit, and they have a portable pit, what they call. That's their fan base. Everywhere they play, whether it's locally or somewhere out of town, because all 4 of these teams, well, at least these first 3 I'm going to mention, they always playing somebody out of town, either in Louisville, Cleveland, Indianapolis. St. Xavier's went as far as Maryland and Illinois to play, things like that. Elder locally is known as the Police Academy. A lot of Cincinnati police and, county sheriff deputies Came from Elder. And like I said, that portable pit, so what that basically means is it's going to be 10,000. If they play at your place, it's going to be 10,000 people wearing purple in your building. They're going to have more people in your building than you do. Okay? Then there's St. Xavier High School, where Luke Kuechly went. It's where all the lawyers went in this city. The longtime county prosecutor, he was from there. Now he's on the Ohio State Court. The juvenile judge, her kid went there. I played against him in high school. Scott Solman. He's a local legend. You guys probably don't know him, but he went to Notre Dame to play baseball, but he was nice at football as well. And so he eventually started playing football at Notre Dame as well. I'm trying to think of somebody of note. Just offhand, I don't know. I can't think of anybody. Then there's LaSalle High School. Now, LaSalle's weird because they were Division I. All these schools were Division I at one point. The biggest classification of schools in the state of Ohio. LaSalle was able to reclassify, then went Division II, and then they started ripping off state titles. The quarterback who was ripping off the state titles, he was a kid in the youth organization that I coached at the time. But LaSalle, like, you go into their football stadium, they've got like all these 20-foot posters of all the alumni that played in the NFL. There's some from back in the day. Then there's DeVere Posey, who went to Ohio State. He was in the shit with Terrell Pryor. He had a cup of coffee, but a little more than a cup of coffee in the NFL because he played for the Houston Texans at one point. And let me see who else there. There's Mark Fisher. There's a guy named Mark Fisher. He had a 10-year career in the NFL as an offensive lineman. I'm going to tell you right now, he's the reason I'm fat. Went against him for 2 years in high school. He was a year older than me. Now, remember my junior year or my sophomore year, he's a junior, and don't get it twisted. I'm making my plays. He's an O lineman, I'm D lineman. I'm making my plays. But every time I look up, he's right there on my shoulder. And I remember just sitting there thinking in the third quarter, why can't I get rid of this guy? After the game, I go up and look at the press box and, look up the roster. Mark Fisher, 6'4", 260-pound junior. I'm like, oh, shit, he's coming back next year? Okay. And I was introduced into Joe Weider. All right, but I digress. I have a problem with Luke Kuechly. He only played 8 years in the league. I don't see, there's no sport where after 8 years you should be a Hall of Famer. There's no sport, especially an NFL linebacker. Hell, as an NFL linebacker, most people, it takes 2 years to get busy, to start getting busy. Maybe Ray Lewis was the exception. Lawrence Taylor might have been the exception, but most guys, it's going to take you a year and a half, 2 years to be like a strong NFL linebacker. Luke Kuechly's career was cut short for concussions. And I believe that's why he was a Hall of Famer in his second time on the ballot. Because of the concussion settlement. Just kind of through the proxy of that. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But the two people that the city is going crazy about, the Andersons, Ken and Willie, saying that they're Hall of Famers. And I'm here to tell you, no, they weren't. Ken Anderson, I don't care what his stats say. Now granted, I wasn't quite in my formative years when he was the Bengals quarterback. But, it's just what I remember was all right, he was solid, he was strong. But I just don't remember seeing anything spectacular out of the dude like that. Hell of a nice guy. He's a hell of a nice guy. But like NFL Hall of Famer, I don't know about that, B. And then Willie Anderson. Right tackle. Now I'm an older grown man. Now when he's playing, I'm a young either. Yeah, I'm a grown man in my 20s, and I'm looking at Willie, and I'm like, yeah, he good. He's solid. He's strong. He ain't no damn Hall of Famer. Wasn't special. I mean, he got busy, but he wasn't special. I just didn't. I don't feel like I watched a Hall of Famer. Just like when I talk about Roger Craig, I didn't feel like I was watching a Hall of Famer. Frank Gore's not in the NFL or in the Hall of Fame. I didn't feel like I was watching a top tier running back when Frank Gore was running the ball. I don't care how many yards he's got. I don't care how many teams he played for. I don't feel like I was watching a Hall of Famer. Now, what's got me messed up is Terrell Suggs is not in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, huh? How's he not in? But they might be saying that same system stuff like about Roger Craig that, Ray Lewis made Terrell Suggs. I disagree with that. But, yeah, so like, I'm seeing all these local yokels on their podcasts in Cincinnati and these sports writers, Ken Anderson and Willie should be in the Hall of Fame. But no, I'm telling you, these guys, if a Hall of Fame player is an A, is an A-, A or A+ player, Willie Anderson was a B+ at best. Ken Anderson, I'll leave it to somebody who more saw his career when in his prime. I don't think I did, but what I saw a B player. I did. Like, I'm just not going to be a local yokel about it. These were strong players, but they, the Bengals, as a history, as a franchise, we don't draft well enough to draft NFL Hall of Fame players. That's why we only have one, Anthony Munoz. Now you can see, like, he whooping Bruce Smith looked scared of him. Bruce Smith, the NFL's all-time sack leader. 88, 89 in the AFC Championship. Bruce Smith looked scared of him. Like, he just didn't want none of that smoke. There's a clip of there's a clip of Charles Haley, NFL Hall of Famer. He said Munoz, he said he beat Munoz for a sack. Then Munoz started saying something in Spanish. Charles Haley said he walked off the field. Like, he said he didn't want none of that. Whatever he was saying, he wanted none of it. Now, I don't know how true it was that he beat him for a sack, because what I read, Munoz never gave up a sack. So, but I get it, But yeah, man, these guys, like, there's too many local yokels out here, talking about how these guys, and here's my thing. Here's my thing with the Hall of Fame. I don't care what the sport is. You're either first ballot or you're not. If you don't make it on the first ballot, you ain't finna go back out there and put some damn more numbers up. It's over. I don't care, just make the selections, just make them unlimited. But first you get one shot. Either you're in or you're not. I don't like that. And then, I see all these dissertations about Ken Anderson and his greatness, and it's like you're going too hard to try to prove that he's a Hall of Famer. When you see his name, you should say either Hall of Famer or not. There's no in between. Because if you gotta convince me that somebody's a Hall of Famer, they're probably not one. You shouldn't have to convince nobody. The minute you see that name, you should know that's a Hall of Famer. Like Larry Fitzgerald, Drew Brees, you saw them? Those are Hall of Famers. You didn't have to convince nobody of them. They was nice, incredible, game changers. This stuff about, can you tell the story of the NFL without them, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can tell the story of the NFL without Larry Fitzgerald, but that don't mean he ain't a Hall of Famer. Willie Anderson is not. Willie Roaf might have been. Ken Anderson is not. I love my city, but we're being a little bit too much homers right now. Keep some things in perspective. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. These guys keep it up, they'll make the Hall of Fame. Maybe maybe T might have an outside shot at it. But before that, the last player that I thought that they drafted that was going to, approach the Hall of Fame was Carson Palmer. Then he got hurt, and he just didn't. It appears he didn't want to play with TJ and Chad because they were just, just being goofy, like being goofy. You see Chad with the Hall of Fame shit on his on the jacket on the sideline, and then he's up there arguing with Shannon about the Hall of Fame, this and that. That's why I said the stuff Chad is saying about the Hall of Fame is what players who want to get into the Hall of Fame say. No player who ever made the Hall of Fame would say what Chad was saying about how the Hall of Fame doesn't define your career. Shit. The hell if it don't. But yeah, so, hey, I'm going to hop off of here. Thanks for rocking with me. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And Cincinnati, especially you podcasters who don't have any journalism experience. I do. You motherfuckers don't. But you podcasters, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just being homers. You're just being homers. Again, Cincinnati, the Bengals as an organization does not draft well enough to have Hall of Famers. Scouting department isn't big enough. But if you think somebody that's on that list that I was talking about should be in the Hall of Fame, write it in the comments. Or somebody who's not in there that should be in there, let me know. And should a Hall of Famer, should they only get one time at it? And, again, do you believe that if you got to explain somebody's Hall of Fame case, they're probably not a Hall of Famer? The answer to these questions and more will be answered on the next episode of Soap. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.